if there are any questions. How can do?
Body
Mm-hmm.
be asleep
Mm-hmm.
and hearing still be maintained. I can hear you talking, but I find that my body has gone to sleep. And to talk now was a difficult effort to come up enough for me to be able to talk.
It's a good question. Yes, yes.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard the question. How can the body be asleep and yet can hear you talk? Now, when we say the body is asleep, what are we referring to?
Well, if I'm sitting here, I was aware that my body would just go down
So
and it would be asleep.
So you're aware of the something is dimming down, like there is a dimmer and it's something is being dimmed down.
Definitely.
Yes.
It was very hard for me to actually get a sound out.
Right. So you could say that the thought that says the body is asleep is basically referring to the dimmer. The dimmer is being dimmed down. Thoughts are being dimmed down.
Well, there really aren't that many thoughts. I can't say that there are thoughts.
Okay, so thought that it's dimmed down to zero, because you can dim down to 50%, 40%, 30%. You can dim it down to this.
I can dim it down. It can get dimmed down to zero, and yet I'm still aware.
Right. So you could say that thoughts are dimmed down to zero. Mm-hmm. And the body, meaning the bodily sensations, are also dimmed down.
Yes.
And with your eyes closed, then the perceptions too are dimmed down.
Yes.
But still, although the body is dimmed down, it's not completely turned off, because there is hearing. Like you're hearing, you're saying, well, I'm hearing something, I'm hearing those words. So there's still some of the auditory sense.
And I don't think I would notice it if I were at home, on my own, meditating. I'm really only aware of it. I was aware of it now because I could still hear you. But
right.
I was also aware there wasn't anything, there was no thought, and then I found my head actually going down, and then I realized that I was asleep. but I can still hear you.
Right. So the auditory sense is still functioning.
Correct.
So you're hearing something. But is consciousness dimmed down?
No, it's not.
So when we say I am sleeping, basically we're referring to the body sleeping. When we say the body is sleeping, what we're referring to is dimming down the thoughts, meaning the mind, dimming down the world, because we close our eyes, we don't see anymore the oak tree, we don't see the flowers on the table. And also the body is dimmed down. It's like we're anesthesia. It's as if the sensations of the body are. That's what we refer to as I am sleeping. But consciousness is not dimmed down.
Not at all.
Because there is no dimmer switch to consciousness.
Correct.
There is a dimmer switch to the world, body, mind. You can close your eyes and you don't see. You can put your hands on your ears and you don't hear. You could go under anesthesia and then you don't sense your operation. You don't sense your body. You could faint and not be aware of any of the thoughts. So the world, perceptions, sensations, and meditations can be dimmed down. But consciousness has no dimmer switch. Usually in our conventional way of thinking, we believe that when the world, body, mind is dimmed down, that actually consciousness is dimmed down. But that is not the case, as Laina was just sharing, that there is something that is not dimmed down, and that is consciousness.
Same as sleeping at night.
Yes, when you're sleeping at night, you're actually awake.
What comes to mind for me is, as a question, how could that be? How could I still be aware despite my body being asleep? It's almost like, of course, there's still awareness despite the body being asleep.
Yes. Yes, just I'm going to come to that, what you were saying, Fero. Yes, when we are sleeping, we're actually awake. What is awake is what never sleeps, which is the I, the reality of consciousness. Consciousness never sleeps. It doesn't know waking and sleeping. Waking and sleeping refer to the body-mind. So the mind, for example, could be resting, like you're standing in front of a beautiful sunset, for example, and you're like in awe. You're so much in awe that you are, sometimes people say, I was speechless. What they mean is that they were experiencing no mind. Of course, no mind. They say speechless. So the sleep, refer to sleep, is a dimming dimension. When the dimmer is all the way down to zero, that's called deep sleep. And when the dimmer is on 50%, you still are dreaming. There is a mind. There are images. You may be seeing birds. Maybe you are flying. Some people experience different visions, or you experience that you are in a different country, whatever. And when the dimmer is 100% up, that's the waking state. That's what we do. Now, we are not sleeping. We say we're not sleeping, but it refers to the body-mind. It doesn't refer to consciousness. Consciousness is always on. You are aware of your dreams. And if you turn your attention when you go to sleep, you're aware that the body is dissolving. And actually, it's a good exercise. When you are falling asleep, try to locate where is my foot. And it will be very interesting. You'll have an interesting experience of noticing, I have no foot. You could be aware that you have no foot. Sometimes I have my hand on Tara, and then I tell Tara, where is my hand, where is your body? And we cannot find the hand or the body.
It's like what you say about the emptiness of your thoughts.
Yes, yes. And you look at your thoughts, and you're going to falling asleep is very interesting. It's an interesting time to be noticing the formless. Because the form at that moment is sort of dissolving. And you may notice, I don't know if it ever happened to you, but that sometimes you're so-called sleeping, and somebody says, Julian, and you go, yes. I don't know if have you ever experienced that? Like you may be. Anyways, because you're awake. You are the I, consciousness is awake. What most of the experience that we have, because we are as a personal self, is when somebody says, hello Magdi, and quotes unquote, I'm sleepy. I'm like, I wake up, I'm like, drowsy, it's like, you bother me. What do you want? Why are you waking me up? Don't you see that I'm sleeping? I'm trying to catch up on yesterday. I didn't sleep good, and I'm trying to catch up on. I'm tired. So the whole download of the me, is so right there that what is awake and is completely free of the body-mind is as if it's clouded, it's like an overlay of the mind.
That relates a lot to my experience during the meditation. Throughout, but in particular at one point, there was a deepening of the sense of zero distance, and just all one happening. And then there was like this release and this laughing and this joy, and then that was followed by kind of like I want to hold on to this and find a way to conceptualize and report it back. And right then I realized the separate self is everywhere. It's everywhere. The separate me is everywhere. Even a split moment just after this huge release of this zero distance, zero space, suddenly I want to hold on to it and share it.
Yeah.
For who? For you guys, for me, I don't know. I think probably for me. It's just, man, the download is deep.
Yes. But it's interesting to ask yourself the following question. Like the thought arose, I wanna hold it, I wanna formulate it, and I want to share it. But it's interesting to ask yourself the following question. What is noticing that? Because yes, there is that thought that's arising, and that feeling, I want to bottle it up. It's a good question to ask, wait a minute, something is noticing that. As soon as you ask yourself, what is it that's noticing that? Now you're going, and it's not like we're trying to get rid of the personal self, because the personal self There is no personal self. It's just a thought. It's a thought that arises. In the absence of that thought arising that says, you want to bottle it up. It's just consciousness.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. And as soon as you notice that, oh, wait, interesting, an interesting image is appearing in the openness of being. It's appearing openly. It's appearing to borderless awareness. And that is you could call it like the sadhana. That is the contemplation that turns its attention towards the source rather than going into, oh, gee, I shouldn't have had the thought, oh, this thought is spoiling my party, oh, and going deeper and deeper into the I thought.
The reaction I was having is the former, which is more that it's funny and
Yes.
it's just like wow,
Yes.
it's just all over the place.
Yes.
But yeah, you had said, I think either enter the peace or allow the peace to enter, and absolutely, because when there's zero separation, it's all one happening. There's no distinction. There's no putting one against the other, and so naturally there's peace.
Yes. Peace is our true nature, meaning before the thought arises, there is just presence, peace. And the thought arises in that presence. It arises, it's not separate from that presence. And presence of peace, or the stillness of being, has no borders. It has no shape or form that you can cut it in pieces, or it has no limitations. So the thought that arises in that vastness, in that infinity, in that transparency. So the question is, how could a cork on the ocean disturb the ocean? It's an interesting question, because we do experience that it disturbs it. We do experience this thought that says, gee, I should bottle it, or I want to hold on to it, that it disturbs the ocean.
That's interesting. I like that analogy because it's almost like trying to know consciousness is trying to take a cork and to bottle the ocean with a cork.
Into the cork. Let's bottle the ocean in the cork.
You could use this cork to bottle it somehow, it's impossible.
Yes. So it's good to comprehend all that. But then the actual, that you can comprehend, for example, how to clean the carpet. But the actual cleaning the carpet, you need to comprehend it, but it needs to get done. So it's good to comprehend that I am this vastness of being, and thoughts are just empty. But you need to keep going back to that. You need to keep, it's going back to that understanding over and over. And it's interesting laughing at it, sort of noticing the absurdity of the I thought disturbing the ocean. But going back over and over that what I truly am, the I, is this transparency, is this aware presence. It has no name, it's not called human, it has no age, it has no gender, it has no places where it starts and finishes. It is not born, and therefore there is the whole concept of birth and death doesn't apply to it. It's not. And yet, it is the reality. It is the reality of being, of presence, of knowingness.
One last thought, which is, as I've been, I don't know, increasing my quote-unquote practice, and speaking of dreams, sometimes as I'm like, I guess, lightly dreaming, there will be, I guess, phrases that are very within the realm of Advaita.
Yeah.
So as I'm sleeping, these things are coming back. It's like I'm reminding it's almost like I'm coming back and practicing in my sleep as well. For instance, something along the lines of, that you're not that, and you are the infinite space of being. Those sort of sentences just like pop up in my dreams.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the waking state and the sleep state, what we call them, the different states. All what the sleep state refers to is dimming down the world, body, mind, but it doesn't dim down consciousness. So it is when you are contemplating the self, what am I truly, what is the reality of my experience? Good question is, what is it that is contemplating that? What is it that is doing the contemplation? If you say it is me, Julian, who's doing the contemplation, then, and you ask yourself, what is Julian? You may come to realize that Julian refers to thoughts and bodily sensations, right? Because outside of the thought, I'm going to stop moving it around. You may notice that the thought is what is Julian. Because outside of the thought, what is Julian? It's just so. If you say Julian is contemplating what am I truly, then what you're saying is a thought is contemplating, but a thought doesn't contemplate. A thought is a form that arises to you, like a cloud arises in the sky. So what is it that is contemplating what am I truly? Either there are two scenarios. Either this contemplation is real, or it's a joke. If it's a joke, okay, what are we talking about? Might as well have a cup of tea and enjoy chit-chat, okay? If it's real, that means whatever is contemplating, what am I truly, must be real. And what is it that is real? Is it the thought that comes and goes? One thought is I'm Julian, next thought I like to have a sandwich. Thought after that, gee, why is she not calling me? Thought number 4 is, oh, my mother is such a great mother, etc. Okay. So whatever is contemplating must be real. And there is only one reality, which is the reality of consciousness. So therefore it is consciousness that is contemplating.
Yeah, consciousness contemplating itself.
Absolutely.
Through, perhaps, this is totally an assumption or hypothesis, through the tools of thought, which is still consciousness itself. So really it's just consciousness contemplating consciousness. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
It's like almost
What knows? Let's say that consciousness is contemplating itself through the tool that is thought. Now, go back to what I said a minute ago. It has to be or real or it has to be theoretical. If it's real, what you're saying is real. Then there has to be a reality to consciousness contemplating. There has to be reality to the tool that it's using to contemplate itself. We know already that consciousness is real because I am that. That's always, you can always find it. You say, am I conscious? Yes. You say through the thought. Now, whatever is real irrespective of time and space. It has to be real in 2014, and it has to be real in 2018. It has to be real January 2nd, and it has to be real February 4th. It has to be real whether it's, whether it's Atlanta or Georgia or whatever, Right? So reality is real irrespective of time and space. And you'll always find it. You'll always find consciousness. Do you always find the thought? Do you always find the same thought? So therefore, to accept the statement that consciousness is contemplating itself via thought, there is a flaw in that, in accepting that. I will hesitate to accept that. I would say, wait a minute, there is one link in there that does not stand. So what remains is consciousness contemplating itself. There is no via. And that's what's beautiful. Because you don't need any tools. Consciousness doesn't need any tools. Isn't it wonderful? No tools. You know what I mean?
You're trying to put me out of business?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was experimenting with something similar this morning. I'm just sitting, and then I was thinking, well, it seems like I have some choice of what I give my attention to. Like, let me give my attention to, say, thoughts, or maybe a thought would come up. And the other things were, I guess, that I could put my attention on were, say, sensations of the body, or perceptions, what I
Yes.
see, but it had to be, it was either going to be one of those three things.
Yes.
I couldn't find me, but I could find one of those three things. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, what if I give, because there's still a little bit of a distance there, it seems like there's a witness. But then I said, well, what if I give my attention to attention? And it seemed like that was a whole different thing.
Yes. Yes.
Like everything up here was, thoughts,
Yes.
images, sensations.
Yes.
All of a sudden, give my attention to attention. It's like, whoa.
Yes. Yes. See, when you are giving your attention to a thought, a perception, or sensation, you are giving your attention to some object. Right? So there is the object is a result of a mentation. In other words, there is a thought of an object. Because without the thought of an object, without the mentation of an object, you don't have an object. So when you're placing your attention on an object, you're placing your attention on thought, what we refer to as mind. When you're putting your attention on the sensation, you are also putting your attention on mind. So your exploration is the exploration of your creation. You are exploring your creation because the mentation, mind, is your creation.
I don't see that so much if I'm just giving my attention to, say, a sensation. So I'll just feel like maybe the sensation of sitting on the floor on a chair.
Yes.
It just has a kind of a quality to it. I'm not really thinking.
A formless
I'm just
quality.
feeling a sensation.
Yes. But even when you turn your attention to a sensation and there is no thinking, just you saying sensation, just just there is a subtler thinking, but there is a thought. Because in fact, in the absolute, consciousness is not divided in perception
So
sense.
there was like a me, and I'm experiencing a sensation.
There may not be. I mean, there may be, or there may not be a me. There may be just pure experiencing a sensation without a me, but there is a concept. The concept doesn't refer to separation. So we can say purple flowers. You brought them purple, okay? So I have to use that. Okay? If they were yellow, I would have said yellow, okay? So I lost my train of thought.
It sounded like maybe Richard was directly, that there was zero distance between awareness and sensation.
Yes, there is.
Just to communicate it, I
Well,
think.
there was still a sense of a witness, which seems a little bit dualistic.
Mhm.
But I'm saying, and then I had this experience of turning my attention to attention, and it just seemed to obliterate everything.
Yes. Turning your attention to attention is a recognition of the seamlessness of no distance, of the non-dual. It's a recognition of our non-dual nature. There isn't actually something turning its attention to anything. It's a recognition. As soon as you turn your attention, you sort of go into the recognition. Turning your attention is a thought, and then you are in the recognition, which is completely free of thought, no thought. So certain thoughts can take you to God, take you to the thoughtless, to the infinite, to presence. So these are like divine thoughts. They are thoughts that are inspired by the scriptures. They're inspired by God's grace. They're inspired by the self. So yes, the contemplation of zero distance between myself and my perceptions brings you to your self-knowingness, that there is no external reality. Outside of the reality of consciousness, there is no other reality.
No external knower.
There is no external knower. Whatever is external, if it's real, there is an external reality. If it's not real, then it's just dream and balance. It's nothing.
Any external implies separation.
When you say anything external implies separation, you have to be watchful you need to understand that in fact there is no separation, and that the belief in Santa Claus doesn't mean that there is Santa Claus. So the thought of external doesn't really mean there is any separation, but it only means that there is a belief in Santa Claus, a belief in separation, and maybe a sense of separation, feeling separation. But it's important to understand that this does not mean, although I believe and I feel that there is an external reality, this does not mean that there is one. Because if there is an external reality, in fact, in fact there is an external reality, what would know it? What would know it? If I know this external reality, then it's no longer an external reality. It has to come to my knowingness. And now it is part of my knowingness, and my knowingness is not external to I.
So your awareness is not aware of anything? I mean, to go back to the original, how, what I started this for me was the awareness of you speaking. There weren't any thoughts incorporated in that awareness, but there's just plain awareness. I guess if my question was, I had no idea what the question was. I was just telling you what an experience or what had happened.
You could say that awareness is aware of everything and everyone as itself.
Isn't that a thought involved in that process of being?
Yes. Yes, there is, but it's a thought in the right direction.
But in the case, the phenomena, if you will, as that I found, I would kind of go in and out, and there was a point where there was no thought involved in the, to use the word experience, which it wasn't, just the,
Yes.
however you
Yes.
define
You could.
it. Is that?
You awareness can experiences everything as itself, and experiences itself in the presence of thought or in the absence of thought. It can experience perceptions and sensations in the absence of thought. You could, for example, experience a beautiful sunset, which is a perception, and a certain sensation in the body in the absence of thought, because you are in awe. When you're in awe, the mind is sort of obliterated at that moment. It goes, wow, The main thing to contemplate is that there is one reality, and that one reality is what we refer to as I/consciousness, awareness, presence. And that everything that we refer to as thing, everything, is nothing else but consciousness itself manifesting as that. And that consciousness, the experience of consciousness, is the experience of peace, of causeless peace, of freedom, of transparency, of love, of wisdom and intelligence. That's universal, impersonal beingness, impersonal self, and the transparent vastness, a borderless presence. To recognize that experience, to recognize that is not really not an experience. To recognize consciousness as that beauty, that peace, that stillness that I am, the borderless presence, the transparency, the undivided, indivisible beingness. To recognize that is a direct recognition of I am, of what the true I refers to. And then to sort of keep resting as that, keep returning to that, keep living as that, keep contemplating that, keep returning to that. And it's always available to you because you are that, you are consciousness.
Matthew, what
A
are
minute.
those